He got me my first internship. He encouraged me to do great things. My mother always said that I could do great things, but Wayne Bailey got me to believe it.
He sent me over for an interview, and I went over and interviewed and asked him, okay, well, when do you think you might make a decision about who your new intern will be? And she said, no, you don't understand. Dr. Bailey sent you over. You are our new intern.
I was the highest ranking Arab American Muslim in this state because I got appointed to the Public Service Commission, and that would not have been possible without Dr. Bailey's influence.
But he has gotten so many students internships and jobs because he never forgets a student. He has a politician's memory for faces, names, and stories.
He never gave up on you. He just never. So he always challenged you to be so much better than you were.
Not really believing that you can do it until someone actually looks at you and says you can do it made a lot of difference. To a point that my wife and I have made it where we are today because of him in a lot of respects.
He's the one who moved mountains for me. The biggest person who believed in me when I didn't believe in myself.
How he treated us as people and as equals, even though, he was so accomplished and was so well regarded.
I don't know any place in America, corporate, private, nonprofit, university level, that celebrates anybody that has been with the institution, loved and beloved, and has such a symphony, a chorus of supporters. I don't know anybody that has the symphony and chorus that Wayne Bailey has.
He's always been very willing to help people and never be negative.
His personal experience, professional experience, and being able to contextualize the current events.
He could find a story to tell you that you would understand, just for you, and he had that ability to do that for every student.
He took immediate interest in me as a person, and I know that my story is not unique. I know he cared about thousands of students.
One of my law partners happened to be from DeLand. She told me she was Dr. Bailey's favorite student. And that just really upset me because I thought I had been Dr. Bailey's favorite student. And the truth is, everyone was Dr. Bailey's favorite student.
He wasn't just their teacher or advisor or even their mentor. He was their champion. For me, that's the essence of Wayne Bailey, a champion for generations of Stetson students.
My major accomplishments at Stetson were as a faculty member and teaching students. I think most of the people in the social science division will remember my activity as the founder of the political science department. When Dr. Hugh McInerney hired me, political science was part of the history department, and he wanted to develop a separate political science department. So the two of us, Dr. Maris and myself, built the department with just two of us teaching, and sometimes at least 4 preparations, and a total number of majors of over 100. At first I had the view that scholars had to be totally apolitical, but I found that didn't quite work. So in my classes I made it clear where my partisan view was, but also my intent that anyone could speak out without fear or trepidation.
He's always tried to present both sides, and that's very unique. I don't know any other person, particularly in academia, who has that reputation, and I've always very much appreciated that.
Students could learn to better serve in politics, and a number of Wayne students went on to become active politicians, as you know.
It's interesting that most of the active politicians I've trained are Republican. In fact, some of my friends have said, Dr. Bailey, what have you done?
He has dramatically and positively impacted the lives and the thinking and the direction of thousands of students, helping them through their career, someone to go to, someone who mentored them, and someone who helped them advance.
Sort of the human element that he brought to teaching, and he wasn't just professing. He was teaching, and he was really trying to make a connection with the students.
He has become a mentor, a friend to numerous public officials because he born them, he birthed them, And they don't forget that, and certainly I don't forget that. And it's politicians of both parties too.
I have a great deal of respect for Wayne as a teacher, as a man of great integrity, and as someone who really devoted his professional life to students and helping students in so many ways.
The university in my time had an important role in the community, so many of my activities overlapped the university and the community. Probably the most lasting contribution I will make in terms of programs is the Stetson University Model United States Senate, now called the Floyd M. Riddick Model Senate. The idea was to have students play the role not of countries, but of sitting U.S. senators, all 100 of them.
We brought in Floyd Riddick, who was the Senate parliamentarian, U.S. Senate parliamentarian, and for several years we were distinguished as the only university within the United States that had a model Senate program. There were model UNs and what have you, but this was a unique contribution to the world of learning, and a lot of other schools began to adopt it likewise.
I think it's a magnificent program because youngsters get a chance to role play, and they not necessarily pick out the senator that they like most. They have to role play some senator from somewhere, and they got to understand that person, and then they get a chance to stand up and be that person. So, wow, what a training ground.
It has resulted in, I think, 3 of my model senators have gone on to be Florida State Senate presidents. The current president, Senator Joe Negron, was in the model Senate, for example. And so it is probably the most important learning exercise we do in our area of study at Stetson.
Wayne would later on, I guess it would have been probably around 2000 or maybe thereafter, help to organize here citizenship days where we had naturalization ceremonies in Elizabeth Hall here at Stetson.
We pulled it together. The first year, I think there were over 400 new citizens who came. And in the hallway of Elizabeth Hall, they did all their checking in. We had a program of music from the School of Music. We had the ROTC presenting the flag. We had a speech from the president with the help of IT with the recording. And seeing those 400 new citizens take the oath of office, it brought tears to my eyes.
He was always so pleased to see these events held here at Stetson because he felt the students and faculty could observe it and could see what it meant for these individuals and their families who were just becoming American citizens.
For over 20 years, I took a group of students to New York, to the United Nations, for at least a week, and then to Washington for 2-3 weeks. And so most years we had 7 to 12 students in the program in what surely is the most intensive learning experience of their lives and my life.
I was blessed to attend the Washington semester in Washington, D.C. I interned at the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention, and being in D.C. on election night was absolutely electrifying, and it's a memorable moment in my life that I'll never forget.
Now, this wasn't something that he just took them up to see the sights. He used his contacts to get them into places like congressional hearings, inaugural activities, even State of the Union addresses.
It was just a completely eye-opening experience to spend the day in a congressman's office in Washington and actually see the way government affairs are conducted, the day-to-day of what happens, not just the headlines of what's going on.
I was doing research on women in Congress, and I had the opportunity to interview Margaret Chase Smith, who was a Republican senator from Maine, who just previously in 1964 had been the first woman to have her name placed in nomination by a major political party. I was so enthusiastic about that.
He encouraged me to do the Washington semester program, and Dr. Bailey made personal phone calls to get me scholarships to make that happen. I really felt that he believed in me. He literally invested in me.
Wayne went to bat for them, and sometimes the total for
the term might be $50,000 or $60,000 among his students that he would have gotten for that semester. It really made a difference in a lot of these students' lives.
I was on the Washington Semester Program because I was totally desperate to get the hell out of DeLand, Florida. I was not registered to vote. I had never voted in my life, and I had never taken a government political science course. Therefore, I was highly qualified. Went through the Kennedy assassination and saw that with my eyes there at Arlington, standing on a tombstone for 5 hours watching the burial of my president. And I came away with the powerful sense that maybe even I could be part of American government, be part of American politics. And I got all of that on the Washington Semester Program.
So from 1967 till, I guess, 2016, I directed the program. The program has been so excellent that the credits come back to Stetson, not as transfer credits, but as Stetson credits with Stetson grades. So students are able to bring back 16 hours of Stetson credit. There are several other projects too that meant much to me. Stetson, and the most lasting, was my role in helping to deter smoking among young people. We brought that to the state legislature, and the state legislature, dominated by the tobacco interests, showed no inclination to enact a smoking-free law. So we went out and actually, with petitions, created a Constitution amendment that prohibits smoking in public places.
He wanted to find some way to help, and he did that through the ALA, the American Lung Association. And he volunteered there for 40 years and was probably the most influential in being able to get the no smoking in Florida restaurants.
He himself led the fight for clear air in Florida in terms of a smoke-free environment. So Wayne is to be commended, not just for being an ivory tower professor, which he is damn good at, but for being an activist and an authority on politics, and the mentor to young people who want to go into politics, and an activist in his own right in putting things together to make life better for people in Florida.
My career in Congress has been 24 years, but even before that, again back to the late 60s, I've known of him, of his work, his capability, his involvement in his own community, in the state level, influencing state policy, and taking issues, banning some of the smoking in public places was something that he championed and was successful in.
He's one of a kind, and not many of those come through that are authentic, whose politics are guided by a real consciousness, not just that he's a Democrat.
And as a resident of Volusia County, who's a parent of 4 children here in Volusia County, I cannot thank him enough about what he's done for our community. And Stetson's a given. We all know what he's done for Stetson. A lot of people, like all of y'all, don't understand what he's done for Volusia County, and really the state of Florida.
He was the one that really made the charter for Volusia County. It was because of him that it is a model charter for not only other areas in the state of Florida, but throughout the whole United States.
In 1968, the Florida Constitution was revised, included what we call Article 8, that permitted local counties to have a broader range of home rule. That is, instead of the laws coming from Tallahassee for local matters, they could make up their own minds, pass their own laws or ordinances. And there were no rules to do this. There was no law that told you how to develop your constitution. So we asked the local legislators to establish what they called a Charter and Study Commission. This group was constituted and elected Dr. Flucius as the chair of the committee and Wayne Bailey as the vice chair. So in over a year's time, with meetings several times a week, oftentimes late at night, this committee drafted a charter. So the legislature actually approved the charter as a law, and it has survived as the governing document for all of these years since 1971.
So we have a great charter government here in Volusia County. I was able to recognize Dr. T. Wayne Bailey in 2006, and I presented him with a bronze plaque that is in the rotunda of the county administration building, because I felt that it was so necessary to honor the man that was really the one that made our charter. It is like our Constitution. He was the one that was responsible for that.
He's got the voice of command, and so he looks good on camera, he sounds good on camera. He sounds like he knows what the hell he's talking about, which is always good television. But the interesting thing about it is he does know what he's talking about. I think that's the difference between Wayne Bailey and other, quote, commentators.
It's not enough to go out and hold protest signs. The best way is to learn how the system works and to make it work for you. I'm one of those that believes you can still do that.
He doesn't look just at the past, he's not looking just at the present, but he's looking also, even in his retirement, trying to stimulate thought and action that's positive for the future.
He is a practicing politician as well as a practicing political scientist. He reads the literature, he knows the literature, but he knows the innards of politics because he's been involved in it, he's been close up in it, been intimately with it.
You go down the halls in Tallahassee and you're like walking with Mick Jagger. He's such a rock star that people would stop and talk with him, and even Republicans would, he's just amazing.
My most enjoyable time in life has been my time at Stetson, and I am fortunate that I've been able to touch several thousand lives.
He is one that has taught so many, so much, and we are the ones that are so grateful.
He teaches his students how to believe in themselves, and as far as I'm concerned, there's nothing more important than that. So thank you, Dr. Bailey.
With all the great professors that we have, you are one in a million, and that doesn't say it all.
Generous to a fault, would do anything for anyone, and of course always extremely concerned about the students, not just while they were here and how well they were doing here, but after they left. I mean, in effect, he was a kind of one-man career office here.
He has always been a real master at keeping in contact with people, not just friends and family, but students, elected officials, Democrats, even Republicans.
You know, he would call me at 9 o'clock on a Friday night, and you would answer the phone because you knew that if you needed him at 9 o'clock on a Friday night, he would answer the phone. So thank you for that, Dr. Bailey.
There are three dimensions of leadership. You got to have a vision, a dream. You also have to be willing to get down in the trenches, and then you have to be a mentor. And Wayne was all of those things. He got down in the trenches. We worked on applications to graduate school together.
It's through my relationship with Dr. Bailey that I was able to get the scholarship through that foundation that allowed me to return to Stetson, but also what basically allowed me to go to law school debt-free.
The seeds that you have planted have created trees that will forever be able to give fruit and give worth to the life and the legacy that he has given. So again, thank you.
I hope that in the life that I live and through those who I mentor as an adult and as a lawyer, that I can honor what you've done for me.
To say what Dr. Bailey has provided for me is not possible to put into words without crying. He is an incredible person.
His friendship, his mentoring, and his advice over the years made me the best person that I could be.
All of us here look at the trajectory of our lives and where we would have been without having ever met Dr. Bailey, and Once you bounce into him, you're never the same.
He literally put his arm around me and said, I think you can do this. And then it was because of him that I was able to attend law school. So what I would say to him is, thank you.
You changed my life. God bless you, and thank you.
You taught me how to contribute to the governance process, and that character is what really matters. But most of all, you taught me what it's like to be a great friend. I love you, man.
I appreciate so much what you have done for Stetson over so many years and for so many of your students.
I think you've pretty much set the record for over 50 years of service as a professor. And thank you for hanging there with me as a friend. We're blood brothers forever.
Thank you, Dr. Bailey, and we love you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Bailey.
I thank God for Dr. Bailey.
The future of our country is dependent on these students and others like them. And I am fortunate that I've been able to touch several thousand lives that may make that possible.